Sluggish commodity prices, rising fertilizer cost, trade issues. It's not the best of times in agriculture. Well, on this Redox Grows Technical Podcast, we'll help you better manage your input costs without giving up on performance. I'm Jim Morris with Redox Bionutrients, and joining me are two members of our Midwest team. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the Midwest region. Aimee Burke, you're on the agronomy team and also with business development. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Jim. How you doing? Great to be here.
Very well. Good to have this conversation. This is an important one for growers. And a new member to our agronomy team, John Parrish. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jim.
Well, let's get right into an issue that I know is among the top for growers. The fertilizer costs are rising. They have been for a while. John, give us a little snapshot of what you're seeing in the field that growers have to deal with.
Yeah, in my area, I'm seeing about 20% higher prices, across the board on fertilizer compared to this time last year. Along with that, just the volatility. I mean, the changes are pretty often and quick. So I think what we currently have, nitrogen's somewhere around that 70 cents per pound of N. Phosphorus, from what I'm seeing, is around 90 cents per pound of P2O5. Really, this comes down to about 25% of say, a common fertility program in Nebraska on just those two nutrients. So I think really with that, trying to find some efficiencies and make some room in the budget is going to be important for guys this year.
Well, let's do that. Let's have that conversation. I'd like to start with the scientific understanding and then how Redox technology specifically can help. So, Aimee, that question is for you. Redox active molecules, this is an exciting understanding that we have, and it has practical application to growers. So before we get into the products, tell me about RAM technology and why it's important.
Sure. Well, Redox active molecules is actually a scientific term, right? We didn't make that up. If you step back and think about, fertility programs are based around pounds per acre, right? John had just said that a quarter of a farmer's fertility program cost is actually going to be just on nitrogen and phosphorus, and we talk about that in terms of pounds. But plants don't see nutrients in terms of pounds. They see it in terms of charge, electrical charge. And actually, the plant's foundational energy system is based on electrical charge. We call it photosynthesis, right? You've got sunlight energy, carbon dioxide, and water. And when that water molecule actually breaks apart, you've got protons, electrons, and oxygen, and that creates charge, right? So it's the very foundation of what the plant's dealing with. And so, fertilizer also carries a charge, right? Nitrate nitrogen is electrically charged. Ammonia is positively charged. Potassium is positively charged, right? And so when that balance tips too far in one direction or the other, the plant's out of balance. And unfortunately, 80% of the negative charge that's actually inside the plant is because we overapply too much nitrate nitrogen. And if there's one thing I would want listeners to remember is that, right? 80% of the out of balance of electrical charge inside a plant is due to over applying nitrate nitrogen, which is negatively charged. So what Redox active molecules can do, and we call it RAM technology, and it's in all of our products, is it can act as a shock absorber when it gets inside the plant. It can either give or take an electrical charge based on what the plant needs to do at that very moment. So that's going to help create plant charge balance, and then the result of that for farmers is that you're going to get more out of your nutrients. You're going to have fertilizer efficiency, right? You're going to reduce fertilizer losses, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We've got a product called RDX-N because it allows the plant to actually extract the nutrients and utilize them more efficiently, and then the outcome of that is better plant growth and higher yields.
That's excellent. Charge balance is so critical, and I hope all the growers will understand that message and have it resonate, because that works for every crop in every region, every time. Let's get into RDX-N technology, more than a decade in the making. Very exciting development for Redox. I know Darren, our owner, is just ecstatic over it, and the potential this offers is incredible in a very key area, nitrogen, the most commonly used input. Aimee, I'll start with you, and also John, I want your comments as well. What are you seeing with RDX-N? What do you like about it? What does it offer to growers?
Yeah, so just going back to nitrogen in and of itself, we know it's an inefficient process, right? And universities say only 30% or about that is actually getting to the plant. So I'm paying this money, John said, 77 cents a unit right now? 70% of that is just going out the door. So when the nitrogen gets into the plant, there's actually a feedback loop at a cellular level. The plant can either do one or two things when it comes to nitrogen. It actually can store it in the leaves, or it can convert it to amino acids, sugars, roots, and shoots. That's where the money is, right? And so again, if 80% of the out of balance in a plant's charge is because of over applying nitrate nitrogen, what we can do is if we can balance that plant, then we're going to have efficiency inside the cell. And that's, again, going back to that RAM technology, redox active molecules. We create that plant charge balance. That system is able to metabolize that nitrogen at a much more efficient rate. At a cellular level, that plant can metabolize that nitrogen up to 50% for in season.
And so, John, your thoughts on RDX-N and its potential? It's applied along with synthetic nitrogen. It can reduce the use of it by up to 50% without any yield or quality issues. So the interest level that you're seeing and the optimism that you have for this product.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring it back to an economic standpoint, right, to get some interest in there. Say you could drop your nitrogen, figuring with the cost of RDX-N, 30%, right? You could drop that cost by 30%. That's a huge savings to allocate somewhere else, right? I've also seen it firsthand in the field. I've been here just a short time, but man, the results seem outstanding, right? Walking through fields, I was out in Idaho and saw some, and in Nebraska or Iowa, and I'll tell you, I can't see a difference. So being able to metabolize that nitrogen, like we're saying with the plant charge balance, it's working, it's there, and we're not seeing difference. And those real world trials, I guess you'd call them, that's driving interest, and guys can see it firsthand. So I'm excited. The guys I've talked to about it are getting there as well, especially with the reduction possibilities. So
let's talk about Rootex. That's another key item for Redox, and root development is absolutely critical. Rootex will help with that. It's also a great source of phosphorus. So in addition to RDX-N for a program in the Midwest with corn, soybeans, wheat, areas like that, what does Rootex offer?
Yeah, so I'll answer that, Jim. So if you think about the cost of phosphorus right now, John pointed that, and we know phosphorus, again, another nutrient that's not very efficient of getting into the plant. And we do soil tests, we walk the fields all the time, and a lot of times guys have this huge bank of phosphorus and they know it's not plant available, it's tied up, right? So we already have an inefficient process of getting that nutrition to the plant. But one thing we can do is develop bigger, better roots, right? The fertility program is only as good as your root system. So what Rootex does is it provides that mineral nutrition of phosphorus, but we actually will wrap it. It's called complexing with L-amino acids and our RAM technology to basically protect that mineral nutrient. So not only can it move through the soil profile and stay in there a bit longer, but when it gets into the plant can unwrap that, use that amino acid for energy and that mineral nutrition too. So I call it like good stuff wrapped with more good stuff. And the result of that is, those amino acids are going to drive lateral root growth. It's going to expand more surface area into the soil, right? We know what phosphorus doesn't move that very well, right? We need more shots on goal, and that's exactly what Rootex does.
John, your thoughts on this? Do growers fully understand the key of healthy roots and what Rootex can offer?
I think growers are understanding the key to healthy roots. I think we need to get the message out there of what Rootex can do for that, right? And how it can benefit. I think it's important here to hit on a point Aimee brought up, and that's, phosphorus doesn't move very much in the soil, right? So getting them roots to go and intercept with that is key. And one thing I know as I've consulted over the past, one thing you forget about when you start talking about phosphorus is what is in the soil. Are you measuring that correctly? Are you aware of sufficiency levels and that type of stuff? In that case, if you are, why not utilize what you have there, especially a year like this, by putting out a product like Rootex to make them roots grow and intercept that phosphorus you already have. So I think some key points there, just that root growth. Phosphorus doesn't move, let's intercept it, and what's in your soil. So
one of the keys, too, I think that just fascinates me is it's a relatively small amount of the Redox products that deliver so much. And it's just really encouraging. It speaks well for the grower. It speaks well for the environment. It speaks well for input cost and for the bottom line. So there's so many benefits all across the board. Let's talk about the Expert Farm in Missouri Valley, Iowa. I was so glad I was able to see it firsthand. More than 500 acres of corn and soybeans. Growers can see, touch those crops. They can also talk with you all directly. How helpful is the Expert Farm in getting that message across and having real face-to-face dialogue with growers right where they're at?
Yeah, I guess I'll respond, Jim. I think we're just getting started, right? We're so excited. I mean, we literally, it was back of the napkin idea back in March of this year, and here we are about to harvest the field in the next couple of weeks. The plants are looking good, even though we had a tremendous wind event early August. Looked like a spaghetti strainer had gone across the field, but the ears are looking real good. And it's just, one of the core values that we have as a company is tell the truth, right? And so what we want to do that is not only tell the truth on our products and our efficacy, but with the data as well. And so we've been sharing the data through this whole process from, walking the fields, soil tests, tissue tests, all the way through to results. And we wanted to ground truth, RAM technology right there in the Midwest. And that's what the Expert Farm allows us to do.
I was amazed at what I saw at the farm. I wasn't amazed at how professional it was, but a little bit amazed at the humidity, a little bit amazed at the degree of mosquitoes out there, but also just the hard work and the commitment that every member of the team has. And I think, John, you were about the first person I saw, and you were right in there getting all the corn ready for the event. So helpful is it, John, to have that Expert Farm, have those real conversations with people with the crops standing right behind, where you can have dialogue and they can also have that visual?
Yep. I mean, to me, it's huge, right? Like you're seeing it firsthand. It's in their backyard per se, right? This company's doing, practicing what they preach per se. We're using the products out there. It gives guys confidence to be able to see it in hand. I mean, you see it all the time in seed test plots, right? So let's get out there, let's look at stuff and just build that confidence firsthand. I don't know if you can start to question it, once you're out there, you're walking through it, what's holding you back then, right? So
Absolutely. And the wind event was unfortunate, but this is what growers deal with. So it's a real life situation that's being played out. And I know there were a lot of neighboring growers there that were having a lot of conversations about the extreme weather that can occur. Our products can help with stress. So we're helping mitigate some of the worst of those, negative consequences of poor weather. Where does this leave us? We understand more about RAM. We understand about plant charge balance. There's a tremendous amount of excitement, I think, for good reason. Growers need this help, and we can offer it in a very tangible way. When we look to the future, how optimistic are you? Aimee, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think, with rising input costs and tighter margins, we have to do more with less, and we're not going to fertilize our way out of this problem, right? And I think it goes back to it's not about pounds per acre, it's about charge per acre. So if you can create that plant charge balance right out of the gate, you're going to create an energy system in the plant that's going to be able to handle abiotic stress, that's going to be able to handle biotic stress. Growing healthier, stronger, better plants. That's the message, Jim, right? Is leveraging RAM technology, creating plant charge balance, getting better fertilizer efficiency in the plant from the inside out. That's what's going to drive higher yields, better plant health, and reduce input costs going forward.
yeah, I mean, you talk about optimism. I am very optimistic about what we can achieve. I mean, some of my previous conversations before being a part of this is how do we utilize what's in the soil? I think we've got the technology now to do it. We just got to get it out there and prove to guys, and that's part of the Expert Farm, right? Like let's utilize what we're selling and show you guys how it works. Phosphorus is one of those big deals. High pH soils, tie up. Why don't we release it, right? So the optimism is there. We just got to get going on it. So
I think the more we can get that information out is very helpful for growers. There's a lot of new concepts that they're learning here, but ultimately it's going to make a huge difference on their farm. And I appreciate your time today. I also appreciate the dedication of the Midwest team. Thank you, Aimee and John, for your time.
yeah,
Thanks, Jim.
thank you, Jim.
So you can find out more at redoxgrows.com. We have a Midwest page. We also have a page on the Expert Farm as well. And we would love to talk with you more about nutrition. So reach out to Aimee and John and all the Midwest team. Thanks for joining us.